In a Singapore restaurant, there's a recent addition to the menu. This is chicken, but not as we know it. It's cultivated meat. It was launched to fanfare in late 2020, with Singapore the first country in the world to approve its sale. Singapore is also home to startups creating plant-based alternatives, but this chicken is real meat. The exact technique is a secret, but cultivated meat starts with cells from animal tissue. Fat cells and muscle cells are separated. Nutrients are added, and one muscle cell can divide to produce billions of cells. Eventually, new cell strands form, and this tissue can then be layered back together to form meat. The entrepreneur behind the new meat on sale in Singapore is working remotely in Hawaii, away from his San Francisco headquarters. Josh Tetrick is convinced that the world's trillion-dollar meat industry is going to change.
Cultivated meat aligns with the circular economy because you're only making what you want. You don't have to have all the waste that normally comes from industrialized animal production. You don't need to have the millions of acres of land either. You don't need to have the billions of animals. It's simply a more efficient process from the start to the end. The benefits are economic, the benefits are environmental, and, to some extent, the benefits are also moral.
The need is pressing because the world's appetite for meat is growing, along with a human population already heading towards 8 billion.
What happens when we have 10 billion? Do we eventually use 90% of the habitable land of this one planet, the only one that we have, to plant soy and corn to feed the animals we eat? So what happens if we don't change it is instead of having a planet, we have an animal farm.
Josh's company is now supplying a second Singapore restaurant. A delivery platform is helping get the new meat to consumers at home. It's still a pilot scheme, but with big plans ahead.
It seems to be selling out, so that's good. But people definitely like chicken and rice the most. And I still haven't tried the chicken and rice, which is kind of frustrating.
Because you're not on the ground in Singapore, you're in Hawaii.
Singapore is one of the most forward-thinking countries on the planet. They're thinking about a world 30 years from now as opposed to the world today. So as Singapore becomes a hub for manufacturing, then we look to other markets. We look to Indonesia, we look to China, we look to Japan. We can't ever forget in building out this company that more meat is being consumed in Asia than anywhere else.
High-tech farms are planned, where chicken and eventually pork, beef and seafood will be cultivated in huge bioreactors.
We can't just build them all tomorrow, but ultimately they will be the infrastructure for how the world ends up consuming meat. This is infrastructure that's similar to building the infrastructure out for the electric car economy. It doesn't exist today. We've got to build it from scratch. And we all feel a real urgency of doing it as fast as we can today and not waiting.